Hi, and welcome to BackStage Takoma. We're here with Adele Schmidt, the co-creator of Romantic Warriors 3 Canterbury Tales. She's one of our artists for our June event series. And hi, Adele, welcome, and it's great to have you.
Hi, Morgan. It's very, very great to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Canterbury Scene and how you and Jose delve into it in Romantic Warriors 3?
Yeah, well, our new movie, Romantic Warriors 3, Canterbury Tales, is the third documentary that we have been doing on progressive rock. And the Canterbury Scene is a scene that had its golden years, like in the late 60s to the mid 70s. And it defines it is like a group of bands that were important in that time, and they changed the musical path of their time.
What are some things that characterize music from that genre or subgenre of progressive rock?
The Canterbury Scene is characterized by it's difficult to say, for example, the Canterbury Scene, it is a specific kind of music, you know. Why is it called the Canterbury Scene? Well, when they started out, it was at the time when the Beatles were very famous, no? And these young guys, they were in Canterbury, you know, and they said, well, we want that kind of lifestyle like the Beatles. We want our own band. And in Canterbury, it is called the Canterbury Scene because most of the musicians that started to do these bands and started to build these bands came from Canterbury for some reason. And the bands that came out of Canterbury were different. There was one initial band, the Wildflowers. The film talks about that, but it was an R&B band, a rhythm and blues band. And from that, the Wildflowers, different members went into different directions, and they formed other bands. So what we today understand under Canterbury bands is Soft Machine, Caravan, Hatfield and the North, National Health. And these bands, they have at least one member from that original band, the Wildflowers. So the groups are very different. You know, the Caravan, for example, is more a melodic, pastoral sound of music. Soft Machine, they started off very psychedelic, and then they morphed into jazz rock. That is what basically the Soft Machine characterized. It's like the English response to Miles Davis, because they were exposed to, Soft Machine was exposed to the jazz players in the US because they toured first with Jimi Hendrix. That is also explained in the film. Soft Machine in '67, they toured with Jimi Hendrix in America, 2 very, very long tours. So they were first exposed to that psychedelic scene. And then they got back and incorporated that into their music. And later on, in a different configuration of Soft Machine, they came back and they were touring with Miles Davis. So they were like exposed to that kind of jazz music, and they incorporated that into their music. And at the end, were then a jazz rock band. So the film talks about this progression of these bands, of these Canterbury bands throughout the years, you know, and how the music has changed. So it's very difficult to say what is a Canterbury sound. They are very different bands, but when you listen to them, you could identify, for example, there is a fuzz organ sound of Soft Machine. There is a very melodic, picturesque, and also funny lyrics of Caravan, for example, and that characteristics these specific bands, and that the music is complex. It's complex music. It is Soft Machine, for example, when they played, they didn't stop. You know, there was one set. They didn't. They played for 1 hour and didn't stop. There's a reason for this, you know, and the film talks about that because in interview back then, they asked him, "Why do you play a 1 hour set? Why don't you do songs like other bands?" And they have an answer for this, you know. For that reason, watch the movie, you will see, you know.
This is the third installation in your documentary series on progressive rock subgenres. So how does this third one either, you know, expound upon the first two or fit into them as a complete series?
Yeah, we started off with the series on progressive rock with Romantic Warriors 1. This is this one. That was in 2009. And here, since we started off, we really didn't know exactly where this all will be heading. We weren't aware that we're going to be doing, after that, a series on progressive rock. So we concentrated on what was most accessible to us, and that is the US East Coast. So this film is the contemporary progressive rock scene. It talks about the contemporary progressive rock scene on the US East Coast. So we visited the important progressive rock festivals that are here, and we talked to musicians, we talked to the bands, and we got an idea of the progressive rock scene of today, because it was important for us from the beginning to let people know with our films that progressive rock is not something that happened in the 70s and then went away and died. It is still alive. There are young bands who are influenced by these music, and they definitely identify themselves as influenced by these bands. That was the first film, and after that first film, we then were already in that field, and then we realized, hey, well, this is a very big underground scene. It is worldwide, because we had a worldwide response to this film. And then if you look at the progressive rock scene, and the co-producer is, by the way, an expert on this, you have these subgenres. Now, let me see, we have the avant-garde, we have the Canterbury Scene, we have other subgenres like math rock or psychedelic rock or crowd rock. You have a lot of different subgenres on progressive rock. And then we said, well, you know, why don't we go to document this? You know, we go into each of these subgenres and make a movie. And that's what happens with the Romantic Warriors, the second installment. This is this movie. And this is called Romantic Warriors 2, about rock and opposition. What is that? Well, rock and opposition is a movement that was started in France, also in the early 70s. And it is more the subgenre of the avant-garde, the most complicated and the most difficult to listen to music. But in the film, we talk to the musicians, we talk to the bands, and we have depicted in the film music that is not so avant-garde, right? I mean, you can listen to it, and it's beautiful music. It's complex music, and it's very beautiful. And the good thing with Romantic Warriors 2 also was that we got access to very important band. Magma, for example, is a French band that is related to rock and opposition, and we were allowed to film them. And that was important. And that you're going to be seeing in here. So this is more the avant-garde side of the subgenre. And after that, well, while we were doing Romantic Warriors 2, you know, people said, bands said, you know, well, we are a rock and opposition group, like Rio, like RIO, and we also merged into Canterbury, and Canterbury came up all the time. I said, I think the natural move now is to do the Canterbury Scene, you know, and the co-producer already knew, yeah, let's do the Canterbury Scene, because the Canterbury Scene is much wider, the audience is much wider, and we see this now too with the film that's on DVD. that the audience, the response is even much broader. We have built this audience over the years. Again, we started in 2009 with this. This came out in 2012, and the last movie, Romantic Warriors 3, The Canterbury Scene, came out in this year, 2015. There's another DVD here. This is the special features that goes with this. That's what we do, because it's a documentary. It is not rock footage. It's not footage where we have snippets of bands playing, but it's not a whole song, you know. And people complain. They said, we want the whole song. We want, you know, we want to see that. And then we came up with this. And here you have there's a companion DVD where we have concert footage of the bands with full songs. And the same we planned with this year. The next, what comes out is Canterbury, Romantic Warriors 3 Canterbury Tales, special features, where we have bands that are featured in the film playing complete songs.
That's wonderful. Was getting footage for Romantic Warriors 3 one of the biggest challenges you two faced when creating this, would you say?
Yeah, we combined contemporary footage, you know, interviews with people that are with original band members from Canterbury. We went to Canterbury, and then we combined that with archival footage. You know, and archival footage, these bands, especially the Romantic Warriors 3 bands, Soft Machine, Caravan, Hatfield in the North, they are documented very well in the 70s, because they were famous. You know, they were so famous that they had appearances in Paris in the TV station. They were in Germany in main TV station. You know, with the audience sitting there. So that's all documented, and that was easy to find. Not so easy to get the permission to use it, but we cleared the footage and we got the permission. So what you see in Romantic Warriors 3 is the best quality footage you can get from these bands, and we got permission to use it. Yeah, today with the internet, it's not that difficult to find. You have to still look for very specific things. One band, Gong, what is an offspin, well, of David Allen, who is one of the founders of Soft Machine, in the late 60s when they played in France. He's from Australia. He wasn't allowed to come back to UK, so he stayed in France and he formed Gong. And here they weren't so much on TV, right? But there we knew there was like footage. They filmed with Gong because the band lived in the countryside there, and etc. So we got access to that footage, but you have to really look to find it, and then you have to clear it, and that sometimes was difficult. There was 2 clips from Hatfield in the North. We couldn't get clearance. We couldn't get the permission to use the films so we couldn't use it.
Mm-hmm. I guess just to wrap up, what was the biggest joy for you in making this third installation of Romantic Warriors?
Yeah, I think what we really enjoy is, to connect with these musicians, and they tell their stories. You know, you can't read about this. There is not such a publication about the Canterbury Scene, and so when we interviewed these people, they came up with these incredible stories, right, of these times and how they toured with Jimi Hendrix and all of this. It was it's so interesting to be present in such an important interview, and that is very rewarding and enjoyable. On the other hand, it's also very rewarding to see how much followers are still out there who love this music and who follow the music. As I said earlier, this is the music we were exposed to when we were teenagers in the 70s. You know, as baby boomers, that's what we are. There are a lot of baby boomers out there, a lot. And they all, if you hit a chord from Soft Machine or Caravan, people listen up and say, well, I know this, you know. And this is what we try to do and have done, and the response, and that is very joyful, I think, very rewarding, to see the response of the audience online, in these forums, because there are a lot of progressive rock forums out there on Facebook that are everywhere, right? And the response has been very, very positive for all these films. You know, they have been sold all over the world, and we really feel that the audience gets kind of bigger and bigger.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Adele. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Morgan. It was a pleasure to be here.
And come to see Romantic Warriors 3 Canterbury Tales. It's screening at the Takoma Park Community Center on June 11th at 7:30 p.m. And thank you for tuning in to BackStage Takoma.